I'm John, 29 male. I live in a modest one-bedroom apartment in the city, a place I earned through years of careful saving and responsible choices. As a data analyst for a mid-sized tech firm, my life is governed by numbers, patterns, and logic. For the past 7 years, I've been building a life for myself, one spreadsheet and one credit score point at a time. It wasn't flashy, but it was stable and it was mine. That all changed when I decided to do a favor for my younger brother, Leo, a decision that would unravel the quiet order of my life and teach me a brutal lesson about trust. This is the story of how my own brother tried to ruin my financial future with a lie, and how a tiny piece of forgotten technology allowed me to turn the tables on him completely. Before this story unfolds, I'd love to connect with you. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's amazing to see how far these stories can travel. It all started on a crisp Saturday afternoon in October. I was at my parents' house for our weekly family dinner, a tradition my mom insisted on. My brother Leo was there, buzzing with an energy that usually meant he was about to ask for something. At 24, 5 years my junior, Leo was the charismatic opposite of my steady, predictable self. Where I saw risk, he saw opportunity. While I was building a 401k, he was chasing the next big thing, which at the time was cryptocurrency. He called himself a day trader, but from what I could gather, it mostly involved him staring at his phone, either ecstatic or devastated, while working part-time delivering food to make ends meet. He caught me alone in the kitchen while I was helping my dad with the dishes. "Johnny, man, you got a second?" he asked, leaning against the counter with a practiced casualness. I knew this tone. "What's up, Leo?" "So you know I've been killing it with this crypto stuff," he began. That was news to me. The last I'd heard, he'd lost a few $100s on a coin named after a dog. "Things are really about to take off. I just need one thing to lock it all in." I raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "A reliable car," he said, his eyes wide with sincerity. "The delivery gig is okay, but my old clunker is on its last legs. I'm missing out on the best delivery slots. If I had a decent car, I could work more, earn more, and pour that cash into my investments. It's the final piece of the puzzle." I was skeptical. "A car is a big expense, Leo. Are you sure you can handle a payment?" "Totally," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "I've got it all worked out. The only problem is my credit. It's not great, you know, from some old stuff when I was younger." I knew exactly what old stuff meant. A couple of maxed out credit cards and a cell phone bill that went to collections had tanked his score. He was essentially invisible to lenders. I, on the other hand, had a credit score north of 800. I had nurtured it, protected it, and understood its value. It was my key to the future: a mortgage, better insurance rates, financial freedom. "So," he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "I was thinking, what if you co-signed for me, just to get my foot in the door? I swear, John, I'll make every single payment on time. You won't have to worry about a thing. It would be a huge favor. It would change everything for me." My parents had always preached that family helps family. I'd seen them bail Leo out of smaller jams before, and the expectation was clear. As the older, more responsible brother, I was supposed to look out for him. I hesitated. Every logical bone in my body, every instinct honed by years of analyzing risk, screamed no. Co-signing is a trap. You take on all the risk with none of the ownership. But then I looked at my brother, at the hopeful, almost desperate look on his face. He was family. Maybe this was the break he needed. Maybe a little responsibility was the one thing that would finally make him grow up. Against my better judgment, I heard myself saying, "Okay, Leo, I'll do it, but you have to promise me you won't miss a single payment. If you're even a day late, you call me." "I promise," he said, his face breaking into a huge grin as he pulled me into a hug. "Thank you, John. You're the best brother ever. You won't regret this." The next week we went to a dealership. Leo, of course, didn't want a sensible used sedan. He had his eyes on a nearly new, sporty-looking black coupe. It was flashier and more expensive than he needed, but he was persuasive. He talked about image and how it would motivate him. The salesman, seeing my pristine credit report, was more than happy to draw up the paperwork. The monthly payment was a hefty $450. I felt a knot in my stomach as I signed my name on the loan document, legally binding my financial future to my brother's promises. The only small comfort I took was a feature the salesman picked. "He as a bonus, and it comes with a state-of-the-art security package," he'd said cheerfully. "GPS tracking included. You can see your car's location anytime right from an app on your phone, great for anti-theft." At the time, I barely paid attention, setting up the app with my email and a password I immediately forgot. I figured we'd never need it. It was a minor detail in a major decision, a single data point I filed away and ignored. For now. For the first 4 months, everything was fine. Leo made his payments on time, or at least I assumed he did. I never received any late notices from the bank, and my credit report remained spotless. He'd occasionally send me pictures of the car parked in front of some trendy downtown spot with captions like "Living the dream, bro." He seemed happy. He'd even met a new girlfriend, Jessica, who worked at an upscale boutique and seemed to share his taste for the finer things in life. When I met her briefly, she was polite but seemed more interested in the brand of my watch than in anything I had to say. Still, if Leo was happy and paying his bills, I was willing to let it go. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I had made the right decision. The first red flag appeared in the fifth month. I got an automated email from the bank: "Your auto loan payment is due in 5 days." This was unusual. I had set up my own account on the loan portal when we first got the car just to keep an eye on things, but I'd never received a reminder before. I figured it was just a new notification system they'd implemented. I texted Leo, "Hey, just a heads up, the car payment is due soon." His reply was almost instant: "Yep, got it covered, THX." The end of the month came and went. Then, a week into the next month, I got another email. This one was different. The subject line read, "Payment overdue notice." My heart sank. I immediately logged into the loan portal. The status was glaringly obvious in bright red letters: "Past due 10 days." I called him immediately. He didn't pick up. I called again. It went straight to voicemail. I sent him a text: "Leo, the bank said the payment is late. What's going on? Call me ASAP." Hours passed with no response. I tried calling again that evening. Voicemail. The next morning, I sent another text, more forceful this time: "Leo, this is serious. You are now more than 10 days late. This is going to hit my credit report. You promised this wouldn't happen. Answer your phone." The silence was deafening. I felt a familiar mix of anger and anxiety bubbling up inside me. This was exactly what I had feared. I thought about calling our parents, but I didn't want to worry them, and honestly, I was embarrassed. I was the responsible one who had vouched for him. His failure felt like my failure. Finally, after 2 full days of me leaving frantic voicemails and texts, he replied with a short, dismissive text: "SRY man, busy, had a big crypto dip, wiped me out for a bit, we'll catch it up next week." A crypto dip, that was his excuse for defaulting on a legal agreement and damaging my credit. "That's not good enough, Leo," I texted back. "A dip doesn't just make your obligations disappear. I need you to pay this now." "Chill," he wrote back. I said I'll handle it. To avoid the first black mark on my credit, I made the $450 payment myself, along with the late fee. I was furious. I told him in no uncertain terms that he had to pay me back immediately and that this could never happen again. He sent a string of apologies and promised it was a one-time thing. He even sent me the $495 via payment app a few days later, so I reluctantly let it slide. But the trust was broken. The next month, the same thing happened: a reminder email followed by a past due notice. This time, I didn't even bother trying to get a hold of him. I just paid it, my stomach churning with resentment. I sent him a single text: "Paid it again. This is the last time, Leo. Either you start paying or you sell the car." His response was a long, rambling voice message left at 2 a.m. His voice was thick with what sounded like fake tears. He talked about how much pressure he was under, how Jessica expected a certain lifestyle, how his crypto investments were so close to paying off, and how he just needed a little more time. He swore on our family's name that he would get back on track next month. It was a masterclass in manipulation designed to make me feel guilty. It almost worked. But my patience had run out. The third month came and I was prepared for the worst. The due date passed. The past due email arrived. This time it said the payment was 30 days overdue for the previous month, which I had paid, but it was processed late and now 15 days for the current one. The bank wasn't just sending emails anymore. I got a formal letter in the mail. It was a notice of intent to repossess. My blood ran cold. This was it. The point of no return. A repossession would be a catastrophic event for my credit score, a black mark that would follow me for 7 years. I called Leo, my hands shaking with rage, straight to voicemail. I texted him a picture of the repossession notice. "They're going to take the car, Leo, and they're going to destroy my credit. You have to fix this now." The response I got back about an hour later was the one that sent me over the edge. It was a text, not from him, but from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Leo's friend. He sold his phone for cash. He said to tell you he's sorry, but the car got repossessed last night. They took it. He's super torn up about it. He'll be in touch when he can." Repossessed, the word echoed in my head. It was over. He had failed, and he had dragged me down with him. I felt a wave of despair, picturing my credit score plummeting, my plans for buying a home turning to dust. He hadn't even had the guts to tell me himself. He'd let his life collapse and hadn't cared that mine was tied to it. I sank onto my couch, the repossession notice crumpled in my hand, feeling utterly defeated. For a full day, I was in a state of shock and despair. I called the bank, and the automated system confirmed the loan was in default and pending action, which seemed to line up with what Leo's friend had told me. The customer service representative I spoke to was clinical and unhelpful, stating that since the loan was severely delinquent, it was in the hands of their recovery department. A repossession order had been issued. It seemed my fate was sealed. My pristine credit score, something I had spent the better part of a decade building, was about to be shattered because I trusted my own brother. I called my best friend David and vented for nearly an hour. David, a high school history teacher, had a calm and methodical way of looking at things. He listened patiently as I paced around my apartment, ranting about Leo's irresponsibility, his lies, and his cowardice. "So he just let them take it and didn't even call you?" David asked, his voice laced with disbelief. "Nope," I spat. "Had some random friend text me, said he sold his phone. Can you believe the nerve? He's probably hiding out at his girlfriend Jessica's place, too ashamed to face me or mom and dad." "A repo is serious, man," David said grimly. "That stays on your record for 7 years. It's going to make getting that mortgage you wanted almost impossible." He was right. I felt a fresh wave of panic. I had thrown away my future for him. I spent the rest of the day wallowing, alternating between rage at Leo and disgust with myself for being so naive. I went to bed that night feeling like a complete fool. I woke up around 3 a.m., my mind racing. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the whole miserable saga in my head, the dealership, the promises, the late notices, the final crushing text message. I was scrolling aimlessly through the apps on my phone, trying to distract myself when my thumb hovered over a folder I never opened. It was labeled car stuff. Inside were a few random apps the dealer had convinced me to download. A digital owner's manual, a maintenance scheduler, and one simply called AutoTrack. AutoTrack, the GPS security app. My heart suddenly started beating faster. I had completely forgotten about it. The salesman's words echoed in my memory. "You can see your car's location anytime right from an app on your phone." I tapped on the icon. It asked for my email and a password. My mind went blank. What was the password? I tried a few of my usuals, but nothing worked. I was about to give up when I clicked the forgot password link. I entered my email address and a reset link was sent almost instantly. With trembling fingers, I created a new password and logged in. A map loaded onto the screen. It took a moment to pinpoint the signal. I expected it to show the car at a tow yard or a dealership impound lot on the industrial side of town. That would be the final, painful confirmation of the repossession. But the blue dot representing the car wasn't in an impound lot. It was pulsing steadily on a residential street just a few miles away. I zoomed in. The address was an apartment complex, a nice one too, one of those new luxury living places with a pool and a fancy gym. I didn't recognize the street name, but something about the location felt familiar. I switched to a satellite view and that's when I saw it. The complex was right next to the high-end mall where Leo's girlfriend Jessica worked. My mind started to connect the dots. Was it possible? I opened up a web browser and typed the apartment complex's name into a search bar. It was just as I suspected, new, trendy, and expensive. I couldn't be sure, but a cold, hard suspicion was beginning to form in the pit of my stomach. "Repossessed last night," that's what the text had said. Repo companies work fast, but they don't hide cars in the parking lots of luxury apartments. They take them to secure lots, they process them. The location on the GPS made absolutely no sense for a repossessed vehicle. My despair began to morph into something else, something sharp and cold. Anger. I sat there in the dark, the glow of my phone illuminating my face, and watched the little blue dot. It wasn't moving, it was parked, safe and sound. The car hadn't been repossessed. Leo had lied. It wasn't just a lie of omission or a cowardly way of avoiding a difficult conversation. This was a calculated, deliberate deception. He had orchestrated this whole story, the delinquent payments, the radio silence, the text from a friend, to make me believe the car was gone. He wanted me to think it was a lost cause, that the damage was done so I would stop hounding him for the payments. He planned to just keep the car. He was going to let my credit be destroyed by the default while he continued to drive around in his sporty black coupe, living his carefree life with his girlfriend. He was hiding the car at her apartment, thinking I would never find it. He had counted on me giving up. He had counted on my despair. He had underestimated me. And he had forgotten about the tiny, insignificant detail of the GPS tracker, a single data point he didn't know I had access to. As a data analyst, I knew the power of having the right information. And in that moment, staring at that little blue dot on the map, I realized I had all the information I needed. The panic was gone, replaced by an ice-cold clarity. This was no longer about a missed payment or a broken promise. This was about a profound betrayal, and I was not going to let him get away with it. The next morning, the world looked different. The haze of defeat had lifted, replaced by the sharp focus of a man with a mission. My first call was not to Leo nor to my parents. It was to David. "You are not going to believe this," I said, my voice steady and low. I explained everything, waking up in the middle of the night, remembering the GPS app, and discovering the car's true location. David was silent for a moment, processing the information. "So he's hiding it at his girlfriend's place," David said, his tone shifting from sympathy to outrage. "He told you it was repossessed so you'd stop asking for money, and he was just going to keep driving it while the bank came after you. That is next-level scummy, John." "Exactly," I replied. "He's counting on me being too devastated about my credit to do anything. He thinks he's home free." "What are you going to do?" David asked. "I'm going to get the car back," I said, a sense of grim determination solidifying in my gut. "But I need to do this the right way. I need to be smart about it. I need evidence. I need a plan." My data analyst brain kicked into high gear. This was no longer a family squabble. It was a problem to be solved, with variables to control and outcomes to predict. My objective was twofold: recover the asset, the car, and mitigate the damage to my credit. Leo's feelings were no longer a variable I cared about. My first step was to confirm my suspicion. I needed to see the car with my own eyes. I told my boss I had a personal emergency and took the morning off. I drove to the address shown on the GPS tracker, the Paragon West luxury apartments. It was even fancier up close than it looked online. I parked across the street, my heart pounding in my chest. I scanned the visitor parking lot, and there it was. Tucked away in a corner spot, gleaming in the morning sun, was the black coupe. My black coupe. I felt a surge of white-hot anger, but I forced it down. Emotion was a liability right now. I needed to be cold, calculating. I took out my phone and took several pictures of the car from different angles, making sure the apartment building's sign was visible in the background of one of the shots. The timestamp on the photos would serve as concrete evidence. Next, I needed more information about Jessica. A quick search of her name on social media yielded a treasure trove of evidence. Her profile was public, a carefully curated highlight reel of a life they clearly couldn't afford. There were pictures of her and Leo on dinner dates at expensive restaurants, weekend trips I knew he couldn't pay for, and most damningly, dozens of photos featuring the car. She posed against it, sat in the driver's seat, and even posted a video of them driving down the coast, laughing, with a caption that read, "My baby spoiling me in his new ride." The post was dated just 2 weeks ago, long after he had started missing payments. It was sickening. They were flaunting the very asset that was destroying my financial stability. I meticulously saved screenshots of every post, every photo, every caption. Each one was another nail in the coffin of his lie. I even found a post from Jessica, a picture of her holding a key fob with the car's logo, captioned, "Best boyfriend ever got me my own key." So not only was he hiding the car at her place, he had given her a key. They were treating it as their shared property. My third step was a call to the bank. This time, I didn't use the main customer service line. I looked up the number for the loan collections department directly, the people who handle defaults and repossessions. I took a deep breath and prepared my story. "Hello," I said when a stern-sounding woman answered. "My name is John, and I am the cosigner on loan number 74B2281. I received a notice of intent to repossess." "Yes, Mr. John," she said flatly. "The account is severely delinquent. A repossession order is active." "I understand," I said calmly. "And I am not disputing the delinquency. However, there has been a complication. The primary borrower, my brother Leo, has informed me that the vehicle has already been repossessed, but I have reason to believe that is not true. In fact, I have located the vehicle." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "You know where the car is?" "Yes," I said. "I have the exact address. It is being stored at his girlfriend's apartment complex. He is actively concealing the vehicle to avoid repossession and has lied about its status. This is no longer just a case of delinquency. This is a deliberate attempt to defraud both me and the bank." I could hear her typing. Her tone shifted slightly, becoming more engaged. "Actively concealing the vehicle is a serious matter, sir. It violates the terms of the loan agreement." "I am aware," I said. "I have photographic evidence of the car at its current location, time-stamped from this morning. I also have evidence from social media showing him and his girlfriend using the car lavishly while refusing to make payments. He is committing fraud, and he is using my good credit to do it." "I see," the woman said. This is very helpful information, Mr. John. An active attempt to conceal an asset is something we take very seriously. We contract with local repossession agents. If you provide us with this address and evidence, we can ensure they prioritize this recovery. A slow smile spread across my face. I would be more than happy to provide you with everything I have. This was the key. By framing it as fraud and concealment, I had transformed from a beleaguered cosigner into a valuable asset for the bank. I was no longer the victim, I was their partner in recovery. After my call with the bank's collections department, I felt a profound sense of control for the first time in months. I spent the next hour emailing the representative, a woman named Ms. Albright, a neatly organized file of evidence. It included the time-stamped photos of the car at Jessica's apartment, the precise address and parking spot number I had noted, and a PDF of the screenshots from Jessica's social media, highlighting their extravagant lifestyle and her posts with the car. I wrote a concise, professional email detailing Leo's lies, the text from the supposed friend, and his refusal to communicate. I presented it not as a family drama, but as a clear-cut case of fraudulent concealment. Ms. Albright replied within 30 minutes. "Thank you, Mr. John. We have received your documentation. This is more than sufficient. We will be forwarding this information to our contracted recovery agent in your area immediately. They will be instructed to act on this as a priority case. We appreciate your cooperation." My cooperation. It felt good to be on the right side of the equation again. David called me that afternoon to check in. "So what's the verdict? Are they going to get it?" "It's in motion," I said, a grim satisfaction in my voice. I gave them everything: the address, the photos, the social media posts. The bank is treating it as a priority recovery. The repo agent has been dispatched. "Wow," David said, "so they're just going to show up and tow it out of her fancy apartment complex. That's going to be a scene." "That's the plan," I said, "and I'm going to be there to watch it." David paused. "Are you sure that's a good idea, man? What if Leo or the girlfriend comes out? It could get ugly." "It's already ugly, David," I replied. "He made it ugly when he decided to lie and try to ruin my life for a car. He needs to see me. He needs to know that I was the one who found him. He needs to understand that his little scheme failed because he underestimated me." This wasn't just about getting the car back anymore. It was about taking back my power. He had made me feel helpless, foolish, and weak. I needed to witness the consequences of his actions, not for revenge in the classic sense, but for my own sense of closure. I needed to see the lie physically dismantled. The next day, I took another personal day from work. I drove to a coffee shop across the street from the Paragon West apartments, taking a seat at a table by the window that gave me a clear view of the entrance to the parking lot. I opened the Auto Track app on my phone. The blue dot was still there, stationary. I hadn't moved it. They felt safe. They felt untouchable. I settled in to wait. Hours passed. I nursed the same cup of coffee, my eyes glued to the apartment complex. My phone buzzed around 1 p.m. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Is this John?" a gruff voice asked. "Yes, speaking." "This is Mike with Apex Recovery. The bank sent us your file. We're on our way to the Paragon West address now. Just wanted to confirm the vehicle is still there." I glanced at the app. Yes, it is. Black coupe, corner spot in the visitors section, west side of the main building. "Got it," Mike said. "We should be there in about 20 minutes. Standard procedure. We hook it and we go. Should be quick and quiet." "Understood," I said, my heart starting to hammer against my ribs. "Thank you." 20 minutes later, a flat, unmarked tow truck pulled up to the curb a block away from the apartment entrance. It was discreet, nothing like the flashy branded trucks you see on TV shows. A man in a simple work jacket got out, looked at his phone, and then started walking toward the parking lot entrance. This was it, Mike from Apex Recovery. He walked into the lot with a confident stride, disappearing from my view for a few minutes. I imagined him verifying the VIN, checking the plates. Then he re-emerged, walked back to his truck, and slowly, carefully backed it into the apartment's parking lot. I held my breath. My phone, still open to the GPS app, was my second pair of eyes. I watched the blue dot on the screen. For a few tense minutes, nothing happened. Then the dot began to move. It crawled slowly out of the parking spot. It navigated the turns of the lot. It passed through the gates and onto the main street. I looked up from my phone and saw it with my own eyes. The black coupe, my brother's pride and joy, was hooked to the back of the tow truck. Its back wheels were lifted ignominiously off the ground as it was pulled away, a trophy of his own deception. I felt a dizzying wave of relief and vindication. It was done. The lie was over. I watched the tow truck turn the corner and disappear down the street, taking the source of all my stress with it. I took a deep breath, the first truly deep breath I'd taken in weeks. The financial damage wasn't erased, but the source of the bleeding had been cauterized. I had won. Now all that was left was the fallout. The satisfaction of watching the car get towed was immense, but I knew it was only the first part of the final act. The real confrontation was yet to come. I knew with absolute certainty that the moment Leo and Jessica discovered the car was gone, his first call, or more likely, his first panicked, accusatory text would be to me. He wouldn't suspect a repo man, he would suspect theft. And he would expect me, the responsible older brother, to help him sort it out. The irony was so thick I could taste it. I decided not to wait for his call. I was going to deliver the closing statement of this drama in person. I paid for my coffee, got in my car, and drove from the coffee shop to the Paragon West apartments. I parked my own sensible sedan in a visitor spot, not far from the now empty space where the coupe used to be. Then I walked to the main building, found Jessica's apartment number from the directory. She was brazen enough to have her full name listed, and took the elevator up to the 4th floor. Standing outside her door, my heart was surprisingly calm. The anger had cooled into a solid, unshakable resolve. I wasn't here to yell or to cause a scene. I was here to close a chapter. I knocked 3 times, firm and clear. It took about a minute for the door to open. It was Jessica. She was dressed in yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, her hair in a messy bun. She looked surprised to see me, then her expression quickly soured into one of annoyance. "John, what are you doing here?" she asked, not bothering to hide her irritation. She made no move to invite me in. "Hello, Jessica," I said politely. "Is Leo here?" "He's busy," she snapped, starting to close the door. "I think you'll want to talk to me," I said, putting my hand gently on the door to stop it from closing. "It's about the car." Her eyes narrowed. "What about the cars?" From behind her, I heard Leo's voice. "Jess, who is it?" He appeared behind her shoulder, looking just as annoyed as she did. When he saw me, his face went pale. He knew. In that split second, seeing my calm demeanor, he knew this wasn't a social call. "John," he stammered, "what's going on?" "I just wanted to let you two know that you don't have to worry about the car anymore," I said, my voice even. "The bank came and picked it up about an hour ago." Their reactions were a study in contrasts. Jessica's jaw dropped in disbelief, her eyes wide with shock. "What, picked it up, what do you mean?" Leo, however, didn't look shocked. He looked cornered. The color drained from his face and a flicker of pure panic. Ike crossed his eyes before being replaced by a sneer of defiance. He was trying to bluff his way out. "What are you talking about?" he blustered, pushing past Jessica to the doorway. "The car was repossessed 3 months ago, John. I told you, someone must have stolen it from the tow yard or something. We should call the police." I almost laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. He was going to stick to the lie, even with me standing right in front of him. "No, Leo," I said, shaking my head slowly. "It wasn't repossessed 3 months ago. You lied. You stopped making payments, you ignored my calls, and you made up a story so that I would stop bothering you. You were planning on just keeping the car while my credit went up in flames. You were hiding it here." Jessica looked from me to Leo, a confused and dawning horror on her face. "Leo, what is he talking about? You told me you own the car outright." Leo ignored her, his eyes locked on mine. "You're crazy," he spat. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Aren't you forgetting something?" I asked, pulling out my phone. I opened the Auto Track app and held it up for them to see. The map was on the screen, but now a message was displayed over it. "Vehicle recovered by lender." I saw the moment the fight went out of Leo's eyes. He stared at the screen, at the irrefutable technological proof of his downfall. He had no more moves to make. The game was over. "The GPS tracker," I said quietly. "The one the dealer installed, the one you forgot about. It's been telling me where the car was every single day for the past 3 months. I know you never lost it. I know you were here with her, driving it around while I was getting default notices from the bank." Jessica let out a small gasp, finally understanding the scope of the deception. She turned on Leo, her voice rising to a shriek. "You lied to me. You told me that car was yours. You let me post pictures of it all over my Instagram. People think we're successful. Now it's been repossessed, from right outside my apartment. How could you?" "Shut up, Jess," Leo snarled, his face turning red with humiliation and rage. He turned his fury back to me. "So this was you? You did this? You had my car taken away, your own brother." "My car, Leo," I corrected him sharply. The moment you signed that loan, you made it my car, you made it my credit score, you made it my problem. You don't get to use me as a financial shield and then get angry when I protect myself. You betrayed my trust. You tried to ruin me. All for this, I said, gesturing around at the generic luxury of the apartment. For this fake life you can't afford. The fight was ugly. Jessica was screaming at Leo about being a liar and a fraud. Leo was yelling at me, calling me a traitor. I didn't engage. I had said what I needed to say. I just stood there, watching the fantasy life they had built crumble around them. Finally, I turned to leave. The bank has the car, Leo, I said over the shouting. They'll sell it at auction. I'll still be on the hook for the difference and the damage to my credit is already done, but at least the bleeding has stopped. You're on your own now. I walked away, leaving them in the middle of their screaming match. As I rode the elevator down, I could still hear their voices echoing in the hallway. I didn't feel triumph, not exactly. I just felt empty. But it was a clean, quiet emptiness, a stark contrast to the churning anxiety and anger that had consumed me for months. The confrontation was over. The lie was exposed. Now I just had to deal with the wreckage. The days following the confrontation were quiet and strange. I half expected a barrage of angry calls from Leo or perhaps even from my parents after he spun them some sob story, but there was nothing, just silence. It was unnerving at first, but I soon realized it was the silence of him having no ground left to stand on. He couldn't twist this story. He couldn't play the victim. I had the facts, the proof, and the moral high ground. His only move was to disappear. David called to get the full story. I recounted the scene at the apartment, Jessica's shock, Leo's failed bluff, and the final, explosive argument. "So that's it, he just yelled and you walked away?" David asked. "Pretty much," I said. "There was nothing else to say. He got caught. End of story." "What about Jessica?" "I don't know," I admitted. A quick, morbidly curious check of her social media showed that all the pictures of Leo and the car had been scrubbed from her profile. It was as if he had never existed. I have a feeling she's not the type to stick around once the free ride is over. My prediction proved correct. About a week later, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was strained. "John, honey, I just spoke to Leo. He told me what happened." I braced myself. "And what did he tell you, Mom?" "He told me you had his car taken away," she said, her voice trembling slightly. He's devastated. He and Jessica broke up. He had to move out of his place. He's staying on a friend's couch." I waited for the accusation, for her to ask how I could do that to my own brother. But it didn't come. "And then," she continued, her voice hardening with a disappointment I rarely heard, "he told me why you did it. He admitted he lied about the repossession. He admitted he wasn't paying the bills. He tried to blame it on his crypto losses and Jessica being demanding, but the truth is the truth. He tried to ruin your credit and expected to get away with it." I was stunned. I never thought he would actually admit the truth to them. "I'm so sorry, John," my mom said, and I could hear she was starting to cry. "Your father and we are so disappointed in him. We raised you both to be better than that, to have integrity. What he did to you was wrong, terribly wrong." "It's okay, Mom," I said, my own throat feeling tight. "It's over now." "No, it's not," she said firmly. "We're not bailing him out this time. He needs to face the consequences of his actions. Your father told him he's not welcome here until he apologizes to you and starts paying you back for the money you had to spend." That was the biggest shock of all. My parents, who had always enabled Leo, had finally drawn a line in the sand. His betrayal of me was so blatant, so calculated, that it had finally broken through their protective bubble. The aftermath with the bank was less emotional and more clinical. The car was sold at auction for significantly less than the outstanding loan amount, just as I expected. I was left with a deficiency balance of nearly $6,000. On top of that, the 90-day delinquency had hit my credit report hard, dropping my score by over 100 points. It was a brutal, sickening blow. It would take years to fully recover. But I didn't feel despair. I felt a grim resolve. I set up a payment plan with the bank for the deficiency balance. I started meticulously rebuilding my credit, paying every bill early, keeping my balances low. It was like starting over, but this time I was armed with a hard-won lesson. A few months passed. I got a letter in the mail. It was from Leo. The envelope contained a check for $50 and a short, clumsily written note. "John," it read, "I'm sorry, what I did was stupid and wrong. I have a full-time job now at a warehouse. It's not much, but I'm going to send you what I can every month until I pay you back for the payments you made. I know it doesn't fix things, I'm sorry." $50 was a drop in the ocean compared to what he owed me financially and emotionally. But it was a start. It was an acknowledgement. It was the first real step toward responsibility I had ever seen him take. I deposited the check. Life is slowly returning to a new normal. My credit score is inching its way back up. The deficiency balance is slowly shrinking. The anger has faded, leaving behind a scar and a valuable lesson. Trust, I've learned, is like a credit score. It takes years to build and only moments to destroy. And sometimes, the people you think are in your corner are the very ones ready to pull the rug out from under you. I don't know if my relationship with my brother will ever fully recover, but he's trying, and for now, that has to be enough. I did a favor for family and was met with the ultimate betrayal. But in the end, I learned that I am more resilient than I ever thought. I can face the wreckage, pick up the pieces, and rebuild one calculated step at a time.